Video Crow's Nest 5251 wrote the following about the D-Reaper, and I quote, "I already requested a video about the D-Reaper once, so seems like it's a good time to ask again. A bit late for Halloween, but it's still in my opinion one of the spookiest and most unsettling Digimon villains. It's also very fascinating how it connects early real-world malware and attempts to combat it into the equation. While Diaboromon may have been a far earlier example of using malware and Digimon as a storytelling device, considering how advanced malware is becoming, for example, the ones that are able to cause devastating damage to physical objects, such as pioneered by the Stuxnet worm, and thus not limited to just the digital anymore. There is ample ground to consider how this would work within the Digimon franchise itself. The D-Reaper being interestingly enough ahead of its time conceptually as a piece of malware that gained the ability to damage real-world objects and, like any malware left to spread unchecked, became a major threat. Hello my good friends, I hope you are all doing just fine. Welcome to another Digimon Explained video, and one that was actually quite anticipated by you guys. I've had my fair share of comments concerning the D-Reaper and I decided to stop delaying the video production. And I would say that it is perfect timed in a way, as we just finished going over Bagramon and Quartzmon, who were the big villains of Digimon Cross Wars. The D-Reaper is the big villain in Digimon Tamers and definitely one of the most interesting villains out there, and that for multiple reasons. So I am first going to thank Video Crow's Nest 5251 for having asked me to make the video. We're going to go through the origin story of the D-Reaper. We're going to check the parallels there are with real-world history. We're going to check its powers, its fears, and its eventual demise. I will have to warn you, however, that I am once more really going to take my time on this one, because the D-Reaper belongs to one of the more complex villains and character overall in the Digimon franchise. It is definitely one of the better fleshed out entities within the Digimon multiverse, and again, it's a big multiverse, so if I say so, then you can take my word for it. That's why I'm really going to take my time to give you the full background, and that way this video might serve as the go-to video for inspiration or information. I can only recommend to subscribe because, seriously, as much as I try to remain humble, it's really in this channel where we go very deep into Digimon lore. We take our time to discuss a subject which revolves Digimon in a way that should leave most of you very satisfied. So please subscribe if you haven't already, and let us get into it. We have come to quite a big subject, to say the least, my dear friends. I say that because there is simply so much that was involved in the creation of this villain. Let me start with the following quote, here goes. When designing the D-Reaper, the head writer Chiaki J. Konaka was looking for an enemy for the show's final story arc that was an entity that is neither Digimon nor human. In order to create such an entity, he brought together the three foremost designers that worked on Digimon Tamers." Unquote. We will get to the designers later in the video probably, but we're already starting with the fact that the D-Reaper is neither Digimon nor human. This is already important to know because it wouldn't function with the constraints humans or digital monsters would have. And as you will see later on, being something else enables the D-Reaper to also move and act differently in ways never seen before in Digimon history. Clearly the developers wanted to do something entirely different with this antagonist, who even has been nicknamed the True Enemy. Data Ravel wrote the following on X, here I quote, "Whenever the topic is Digimon for children is discussed, the example I remember the post is when Konaka discussed the idea of Tamers isn't for children, showing a very interesting idea of what counts as children's material and adults material that isn't dark content." Unquote. All of this just to tell you that the D-Reaper was meant to be built different, was meant to have been inspired from other sources to come up with something new and creepy. And the best way to explain its story is by first referring to that multiverse video of 11 hours we made. Over there, the Digimon Tamers season received its own spot within the multiverse and the story happened in its own universe. I say that because Digimon Tamers has a well-defined timeline, from not only the birth of the REAPER but also the birth of the digital world, and both will end up having an influence on one another. That's why, in order to best understand the story of the REAPER, we will also have to get through the story of the Digimon Tamers digital world. It will make sense, I promise, but for now, please bear with me. That's why this video will also have some chapters. Alright, let's get into it. We can safely say that the story of Digimon Tamers, and thus the story of the REAPER, began in the year 1970. And the Digimon developers deliberately took this date because of an important event that happened in our real world. You see, in 1971, an experimental computer program called REAPER was created. It is the first computer worm, or in other words, the first standalone malware computer program that replicates itself in order to spread to other computers. As the first computer worm, it had minimal impact on the computers it infected. Actually, no more than 28 machines could have been infected, so it wasn't an actively malicious software as it didn't exactly cause damage to data. The only effect it had was this message that appeared, which said the following: "I am the REAPER, catch me if you can." Unquote. In order to stop the REAPER virus, the first antivirus was created in 1972. That antivirus software was called REAPER. This story was brought into the Digimon Tamer story, almost copy-pasted even, as it unfolded pretty much the same way, though there were also some major differences. You see, the REAPER virus in Digimon Tamers had infected ARPANET. It is an acronym for the Advanced Research Project Agency Network, the world's first operational packet switching network and the precursor to the modern internet. This is some real-world history for you guys. ARPANET was developed in the late 1960s by the US Department of Defense to connect research institutions and allow scientists to share information and computing resources. Instead of sending data as a continuous stream, ARPANET broke information into small packets, each traveling independently to its destination. It's a revolutionary concept that made communication faster and more reliable, and in Digimon Tamers, the REAPER virus attacked ARPANET. That's why the United States Department of Defense had created the REAPER program, who was allegedly created to destroy the REAPER virus. Well, allegedly, because other theories place the REAPER program with the security program used by the United States Department of National Security in the 1980s for their Echelon project. You're talking about a highly secretive global surveillance system believed to have been created during the Cold War by the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, which are the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Its purpose was to intercept and monitor communications, including phone calls, faxes, emails, and radio transmissions across the world, but originally to track Soviet military and diplomatic activities. Over time, Echelon reportedly expanded to monitor civilian communications and detect terrorism, espionage, and economic intelligence. While governments rarely confirm its details, Echelon actually symbolizes the power and controversy of global surveillance networks. Within the Digimon Tamer story, it's possible that the REAPER program came from the US Department of National Security to benefit their Echelon project. But so, in brief, on the one hand, it was thought that the REAPER program was allegedly created in the late 1970s by the United States Department of Defense as an antiviral program for the REAPER virus who had infected ARPANET. On the other hand, it was thought that the self-defense program used by Echelon, created by the United States Department of National Security, was a forerunner for the program itself. The two theories concerning the origins of the REAPER program is very interesting, as it tells that there wasn't exactly a good idea of what the origins and thus also the purpose of the program was. Around the year 1970 and 1980s, all that was really known for sure is that there was a REAPER program online. But despite the many confusion there was concerning the purpose of the REAPER program, there was one event in particular that was very defining. You see, still in the 1980s, there was this artificial life research project called Tierra that began operations. It is a fascinating project in the history of artificial life and digital evolution, and it is actually a project that has existed in the real world. It was created in 1990 by Thomas S. Ray, a biologist and computer scientist. Tierra was a computer simulation designed to explore how life might evolve in a digital environment rather than a biological one. In the Tierra system, self-replicating computer programs, also called digital organisms, compete for limited resources such as CPU time and memory space. And over time, these digital creatures mutate, adapt, and evolve. Some becoming more efficient, others parasitic, mirroring natural selection in biology. The project provided deep insights into evolutionary dynamics, self-organization, and the nature of life itself, suggesting that life doesn't have to be made of carbon and water, but could exist wherever replication, variation, and competition are possible. Basically, Tierra was our real-world attempt to create a digital world. And in Digimon Tamers, there really was life there. I don't believe they were Digimon, but they were something else, but digital life nonetheless. Unfortunately, the life there did not last long, as the REAPER program had caused a mass genocide of Tierra's virtual lifeforms whenever they multiplied beyond a certain amount of memory. All life was decimated. And that's where we got to understand one thing about the REAPER program. We understood that its only purpose is to purge any type of digital world once the number of life forms within surpasses a certain number, and it pursues this goal with deadly efficiency. Now, the REAPER program was given birth 30 years prior to the digital world of Digimon Tamers. So what we're going to do now is stop with the REAPER program and look at the origins of this digital world, because remember, if the REAPER program is meant to suppress all digital life, then that would definitely mean also Digimon digital monsters. But something had stopped the program from doing so. We're going to get to that in a moment. We're first going to discuss the origin story of Digimon Tamer's digital world. While the REAPER program already was living a life on its own online, with its purpose of deleting digital life whenever it reached a certain number, a new digital world was about to be given birth 30 years later after the program's birth. What I'm going to do is show you a segment of the Digimon Multiverse video which explains the origin of the Digimon Tamer's digital world. Afterwards, we're going to get to how it had impacted the REAPER program by going over a digital world image created by Chiaki J. Konaka, who again is the head writer of Digimon Tamers and also other multiple Digimon stories. Let us get into the video segment, shall we? See, in the year 1984 at Palo Alto University in California, there was a group of 6 to 8 individuals called the Wild Bunch. The members consisted of programming students who did not have the same area of expertise. They all specialized in non-mainstream disciplines, but none of them shared the same discipline. They were brought together to form a team under the leadership of Professor Rob McCoy, also nicknamed Dolphin, with the goal to create virtual lifeforms using artificial intelligence in a world on the computer network. Once everyone agreed on the project, they all put their talents to good use. As the project progressed, the Wild Bunch had difficulty coming up with what the new lifeforms ought to look like. So they recruited Professor McCoy's son Keith to come up with the creatures designed for them, which they would nickname digital monsters, or Digimon for short. The artificial lifeforms would even be sorted out by various video game-like criteria like attributes and levels. Inspired by the resemblance to different periods in human development that different Digimon designs of Keith resemble, Li Jiangyu, nicknamed Dao, became fixated on developing an algorithm by which the Digimon can evolve, and Mizuno Guro, named Shibumi, wrote the code that allowed the Digimon to evolve. Aishwarya Rai, nicknamed Girly, focused on the quantum theory, while Babel focused on theoretical physics. Throughout the project, Daisy's main focus was on developing what she dubbed the D-Power. It's a device, or rather an interface, through which individuals in the real world could interact with the Digimon in the network. By early summer of 1985, significant progress had been made on the project. Following Professor McCoy's development of the DigiCore program, the first Digimon had been born within the Wild Bunch's mainframe, and they had begun to demonstrate an autonomous survival instinct. Just for your information, a DigiCore is the controlling organ of a Digimon that is said to be located in the center of a Digimon's body. Its functions correspond to the hearts and brains of creatures from the real world and is the equivalent of a Digimon's soul. The Wild Bunch had set up two terminals through which people could observe the Digimon in their world. One in the laboratory frequented by curious students from the rest of the university, and one illegally set up in Professor McCoy's own home. And one day, an unfamiliar Digimon appeared to be observing the real world through the terminal screen itself. Professor McCoy wasn't quite concerned, believing that no harm could really be done by those digital lifeforms. However, into the night, Daisy heard a loud scratching noise at the laboratory door, and when she stepped outside to investigate, she saw massive claw marks gouged into the door. She was so terrified that she destroyed all monitors in the laboratory, including the one displaying the network world. Then she ran to the basement to cut power to the laboratory's mainframe. However, her actions were too late. The mystery Digimon was no longer inside the network world. It had escaped along with multiple other Digimon. The Wild Bunch did not feel like pursuing them out of concerns for damaging the network, and the campus authorities labeled the damage to the laboratory that night as a result of a hurricane, and the project would eventually be forced to shut down due to a lack of funding. Eventually, the Digimon data on the network became public domain, presumably because the university sold the designs for the Digimon characters to a Japanese toy manufacturer, who proceeded to make a toy and anime franchise based off of them. So now what we have are both the stories of the origins of the REAPER program and that of Digimon Tamer's digital world. Both find themselves in a separate dimension that is relatively separate from the human world. I say relative because the Wild Bunch had just given life to Digimon digital monsters who were already appearing in the human world, unbeknownst to the humans. And we were lucky that Jackie J. Gonaka had given us a conceptual diagram related to the cosmology and structure of Digimon Tamer's digital world. We're going to go through that now so that you can see closely how it is structured and where the REAPER is situated. And the diagram is interesting for multiple reasons, because it illustrates a hierarchical structure suggesting the existence of different layers of reality within this digital world. And this concept of having yet another dimension aside of the digital world is one that has come multiple times within the Digimon multiverse. I'm going to give you another cool example in a moment. But so, for your information, the diagram is made to help you understand how data flows from a higher conceptual plane, meaning the real world, into the network. In mysterious ways, the data that flows in end up developing autonomous behavior, taking the form of digital lifeforms. You can see that the digital world in Digimon Tamers is structured, starting from the real world at the top and descending into the deepest digital dimensions. At the very top is the real world where humans live and where the digital network created by humanity comes to an end. Beneath the real world begins the digital world, a vast multi-layered space composed of different environments and realities. The first major area is the physical layer, described as a desolate plane, a kind of surface level of the digital world. But this is only the start. Below it exist numerous small universes, sometimes called miniverses. These are environments shaped by Digimon themselves, each one designed to suit the nature of the Digimon that inhabit it. Many of these miniverses exist across different layers, and some are interconnected, forming a complex digital ecosystem that stretches far beyond what humans normally perceive. Deeper still lies the domain of the sovereigns, the gods of the digital world. This is considered the highest spiritual level of the digital world, and in other digital worlds you'd probably have the kernel instead, the area known as heaven, where not only God or Yggdrasil lives in, but also where all data in the digital world is computed to the point that if something goes wrong there, the digital world would collapse. However, you have to remember that in Digimon Tamer's universe there is no host computer to manage all incoming data within the digital world. Yggdrasil, Homeostasis, ENIAC, or whatever host computer is far more powerful and capable than the Digimon Sovereigns, who were the one ruling over the Tamer's digital world. And I'd say that it is their lack in capacity that caused the REAPER program to be reborn. The Sovereigns only took on the form of rulers because, to be honest, they were some of the first Digimon to reach their highest form. They took on the role of God and began transmitting a sacred force called the Digi-Entelechy, also known as the light of Digivolution or the power of the catalyst, throughout the digital world. This light helped maintain balance and peace. The locations linked to the Sovereigns, such as Baihumon's Keep, Jukiamon's Keep, and the Great Southern Gate, are all connected to the source of the catalyst, represented through Kalumon, who is the rookie Digimon that is the digital embodiment of the force of evolution. Its power is to make Digimon digivolve. But we're going to get back to Kalumon in a moment because it played a much too important role in the danger that would threaten humanity. Beneath the Sovereign's domain lies a far more dangerous layer, the realm where the REAPER program was sleeping. It appears as a massive, red, organic entity spreading across the lowest part of the digital world, and the area is also called the D-REAPER zone. It is essentially a large, evenly distributed field of energy with a balance between strong and weak interactions. The area is effectively a quantum bubble with subatomic particles traveling at a superluminal or transphotic speed, ones that surpass the speed of light. This region represents instability, corruption, and the breakdown of digital order. It serves as a reminder that the digital world has depths where even Digimon struggle to survive. Below even this unstable zone is another mysterious place called Another World. It is portrayed as a surreal, colorful dimension that exists outside the normal structure of both the real world and the digital world. This final layer symbolizes the unknown, a realm beyond ordinary digital evolution, a place where the rules we understand no longer applies. Perhaps it is in this area that the ether from Digimon Cyber Sleuth came from, because ultimately a digital world is many times limited to the technological prowess of a universe. At the moment humanity found something that was technologically so developed, like the cyberspace Eden, then more of the digital world, or the world beyond the digital world, will get revealed. But what's interesting here when we look at the history of the digital worlds of Digimon Tamers is that at the moment it was given birth, we could say that it was in the Cambrian period. In our planet, the Cambrian period means the geological era from about 541 to 485.4 million years ago. In other words, as the digital world was still developing, it had a very small RAM size. That size did not reach the REAPER program's threshold to become activated. And so, with nothing to do at the time, it went dormant and remained deep within the recesses of the net. However, there was a problem that would end up waking up the REAPER program, and it would almost bring about the destruction of not just the digital world, but also mankind. By the 2000s, the network had expanded exponentially. This created a huge influx of data into the digital world, which the Digimon used to digivolve and change. This made a certain fear grow among the four holy beasts. I'm going to let you watch another fragment from the Digimon Multiverse video concerning the fear and problem that would arise. So, while the digital world was taking shape, the REAPER program was silently being pushed to the lowest layers. It was still part of the digital world, albeit an inactive part. However, because of the large flux of data coming in the digital world, data which was needed for Digimon to digivolve, the REAPER program started to get reactivated and started changing in the meanwhile. It had undergone an aberrant evolution of its own in response to the growth of the network's society and the prolific evolution of Digimon. It's not that the program became evil, it actually is neither good nor evil. However, it can become a force of chaos that can threaten both the digital world and the real world. When the REAPER program began to re-emerge, silently but certainly, the four holy beasts could not agree on a strategy to stop it. Jukiaomon believed that they should use the Digi-Entelekia to allow Digimon to digivolve and fight back, while Azulongmon believed that it is the Digimon's ability to grow in strength that caused the REAPER to get awakened. So Azulongmon consulted the Digignomes. They are a different species of artificial intelligence from Digimon that have evolved on their own. They have the ability to create tools, such as the blue cards which Takato used, or the D-Power Digivice. They also have the ability to grant wishes, which includes the creation of Digimon such as Guilmon, or the creation of Kalumon by having transformed the Digi-Entelekia program for Digivolution into this Digimon in response to Azulongmon's wish. In other words, Kalumon was an attempt to find a solution to the REAPER program, which still was in an extremely primitive state. But that wasn't enough to stop it from growing, so Azulongmon eventually decided to let Kalumon loose in the real world in the hopes to delay the inevitable. The problem of exiling Kalumon from the digital world is that it greatly slowed the growth and digivolution of Digimon, meaning that it became even much harder for Digimon to reach higher levels of power. On top of that, it also wasn't enough to stave off the REAPER, which still ended up growing and becoming more of a threat. You see, though the REAPER program began in an extremely primitive state, it is thought that its ability to become powerful enough to overcome the digital world was due to its hibernation being so far beneath the digital world that it actually connected with another dimension. Again, there wasn't much explained about that other dimension. However, the REAPER program actually managed to develop in a way that it enabled itself to capture a young girl called Juri Kato. And that's how the REAPER program not only got to learn more about humans, but also the REAPER managed to feed on Juri's negative emotions, and like that it came to the belief that humans do not deserve to exist. I might have to give this one a bit more information. You see, as a primitive program, the REAPER originally did not have and should not have had the capacity for intelligence or emotions. It was designed to only analyze its surroundings, including the sampling of specimens, like those of the Tiara digital world, who by then were already extinct years ago, and all of that in order to attempt to understand the unfamiliar and draw conclusions. Also, the REAPER had no capacity for human language or thought logic at all. It was just like a robot, to be fair. However, everything changed after it had analyzed Juri and absorbed these faculties from her while also duplicating her speaking voice. And just a side note, Juri is also called Jerry depending on what language used in the Digimon Tamer series. So it's possible that I will use both simultaneously, just know that I'm talking about the same young girl. But after the abduction of Jerry, The REAPER program had communicated its intent to destroy humans and Digimon alike. It positioned its reasoning as objective and based on the facts identified in its analysis, meaning that humans were weak, foolish and contradictory, and that their thought process are illogical and, by its own admission, extrapolated solely from jury, caused them to desire destruction and wish harm upon others, and to only ever act accordingly. It deemed the Digimon as creations of humans to also be foolish, and condemned them for their need to consume other Digimon in order to further the individual's own evolution. Its conclusion is that humans and Digimon are not worthy of existing and should never have existed, and therefore it had taken it upon itself to reset the world to zero. Interestingly, it was speculated that the REAPER program also became emotionally motivated by the fear of the unknown, just like humans. It's no wonder, as it had absorbed Jerry after all. But in all cases, the REAPER created a sort of copy of Jerry's body, an agent classified as ADR-01 who also can look completely like Jerry, meaning without the wings and the creepy appearance. We're talking about a spy agent who can blend in among humans and was created in order to analyze human thought. This agent is the only one out of the about 10 creatures created from the REAPER program that could operate comfortably outside of the D-REAPER zone without the umbilical cord, which you can find returning in all of the other D-REAPER agents. It means that without being connected to the REAPER program, ADR-1 can move freely in the human world or even in the digital world. But so, its main job is espionage and is designed to infiltrate, to observe and to mess with the minds of people. The Jerry type serves as the REAPER's first line of personal defense and is powerful enough to incapacitate a Galantmon. Let that sink in. That's why it is considered to be at the mega level, that is when you consider the card games. And it would make sense though. Galantmon had to evolve into its Crimson mode to have a chance, and even still, the Jerry type proved an immense challenge. However, an interesting phenomenon did happen with Agent 1. Let me show you the following comment made by Videocraw's Nest5251, and I quote, "In Digimon Tamers, the D-REAPER infiltration form upon encountering it was terrified of Marine Angemon, to the point the infiltration form just booked it. I don't recall it ever being scared of any other Digimon, not even Dukemon in Crimson mode, but Marine Angemon for some reason was the exception. Perhaps because Marine Angemon has so many hostility calming attacks? To a hive mind life form like the D-REAPER it rated as a massive threat? If it could infect even one of the puppet entities with chill, calm and let's not fight thinking, the whole D-REAPER entity could be impacted as data flows back and forth. Still, very interesting that the infiltration form had such a strong adverse reaction to Marine Angemon." Unquote. Marine Angemon is obviously not any type of Digimon. I mean, we made an entire video of it, and I have to say that I'm happy we went through it because it's via its profile that we got to learn that the Digimon Oceans is far bigger than we initially knew, and there are plenty of god Digimon down there, plenty of stories, so much that we have yet to explore. Anyway, ADR-1 is but one of the many agents that were spawned by the REAPER program. In fact, there were plenty of them, each with specific skill sets and capacities, and a lot of them were capable of bringing some serious harm. Let's go through them all. ADR-02 is the Searcher. It is an intelligence gathering agent who is small and has no offensive capability. Though that's not exactly necessary as it can jam signals and spy on targets. It appears in large swarms to do so. For the jamming, it uses a technique called jamming herds, which it shares with the Digimon Searchmon, the armored Digivolution of Wormmon who used the Egg of Knowledge. You can see the red wires going underneath it when it goes outside the D-REAPER zone. That's how it always remains linked to the D-REAPER's core. All other DIGIVOLUTION agents will have it when they are operating outside, and they can't operate outside without it. The third agent is the ADR-03, nicknamed Pendulum Feet. It is an anti-aircraft attack agent. The first offensive agent, on the contrary to ADR-01 and ADR-02, and it attacks by using its floating extensions to perform remote strikes. Being built for aerial combat, it's no wonder that it has long-distance attacks, and, if so needed, it can adapt by mimicking other Digimon's attack. It has a move called Shadow Cycle, where it launches 2 pink crescent beams from its cycles. It is a move it shares with Snymon, an experimental insectoid Digimon that was created in a research facility as a virus hunter. ADR-03 also appear in huge numbers, so it could become quite dangerous. But so, it is built for AA defense, meaning that it is designed to intercept and attack airborne threats, and it plays a key role in trying to defend the REAPER system and pushing back any Digimon trying to interfere. The fourth agent, ADR-04, nicknamed Bubbles, is one who also appears in swarms and is designed for ground combat. They are small, just like ADR-2, the Searcher, and are rather weak and easily destroyed. Yet they are still a force to be reckoned with, as they can fight. Again, which they do in swarms, by also using their motion guns and pulse cannons in their arms. They can easily overwhelm enemies on the ground using rapid-fire cannons and energy bombs. And speaking of energy bombs, these are means of offense that ADR-04 shares with Metal Maimon, the cyborg Digimon. It can fire a blast that possesses tremendous destructive force, which is able to reliably bring down the opponent. ADR-04 play a key support role in frontline attacks and helps clear path for stronger agents to follow. The fifth agent, ADR-05, is nicknamed Creep Hands. It is a grappling agent built for close-range combat. A medium-sized offensive unit, which uses its spiral-shaped stretchable arms for locomotion and hand-to-hand combat. Its name is quite fitting, as it is a bit creepy to look at. You can see its ribcage, its arms look unnatural and threatening, its flexible limbs let it trap Digimon, control space in battle, and wear opponents down. It has a move called Squeeze Vine. It's a move it shares with Weedmon, a Digimon we have discussed previously and who actually impressed me a lot when it comes to its Digivolution line. But ADR-5 fills the role of a frontline enforcer, helping the REAPER break through physical resistance with direct grappling attacks. The sixth agent, ADR-06, is nicknamed Hornstriker. This one is a military commander who is also of medium size like the fifth agent, however it packs overwhelming power. Definitely one of the most powerful combat agents among the REAPER agents. It is meant to lead and dominate in battle. It does so with close combat moves like the Circle Moon Kick, a kick technique which it shares with Wergarurumon and Shadow Wergarurumon. Could even be that ADR-06 can use this technique even much better, that is, when we consider the level they are at. It has the ability to grow to gigantic proportions when wounded, so it's almost as if it can get stronger when it is being damaged. It took the combined powers of Sakuyamon, Megagargomon, Justimon and Antilamon to kill it. And mind you, they are all four of them at the Mega level. It took all of them to defeat one, but you have to know that ADR-6 is also being mass-produced to serve as the second defense of the REAPER, so they also come in swarm. The seventh agent is nicknamed Palatis Head. It is a tall, lanky humanoid that has a large head and multiple mouths on it, which speaks with Jerry's voice. It is an agent designed for reconnaissance who combines information gathering with heavy attacks. Palatis Head fills the role of both scout and powerhouse, and being considered sort of like a mid-boss means that the situation is going to be a lot more worse. It makes sinister and unpredictable attacks, one of which is biting. It has a bite called Mobius Bite, which it shares with Griffinmon. Opponents are being torn apart with that. In my opinion, Palati's head has got to be among the more creepier Digimon out there. I think that it would be nuts to be confronted by one. For transportation, there is ADR-08, nicknamed Optimizer. It is a mothership agent that is large and it carries Agent 04 Bubbles in its body. Bubbles being the agents who have pulse cannons in their arms. The Optimizer can also support and launch attacks at the same time. And it can hit hard, really hard when needed. It uses powerful moves like Mjolnir Thunder, a move it shares with Parrotmon and Beetlemon. These are high impact moves that can target multiple enemies or wipe out strong threats. So it really is not just a crazy looking Digimon, but also one who is very important as it plays a central role in the REAPER strategy. It supports the swarm while delivering devastating energy based attacks. ADR-9 is one of the most important agents out there. Its nickname is that of Gatekeeper. It's an agent that is formed to protect and guard the REAPER's core. A core that is called Kernel Sphere. It is the most important part of the REAPER program. That's why ADR-9 serves as the last and strongest line of defense for the program. It's interesting, you know, normally Digimon have a Digicore which serves as their soul. The REAPER also has one, except that it is protected by the Gatekeeper agent. That's the first time in my career of Digimon studies to see that a core is being protected like that. I found this to be particularly interesting because ADR-9 doesn't look like a creature or anything we've seen before with the other agents. It is like a giant ring made up of green panels and gold spheres, all surrounding the translucent white kernel sphere. But it really is a shield, creating a physical and energy-based barrier around the REAPER center, making it virtually impossible to traverse. It doesn't move around or fight like the other agents, but instead it stays calm and holds its ground, keeping enemies away from the REAPER's heart. Then there are two more REAPER beings to discuss, and both are fusions. You see, when some of these agents fuse in order to use all of their offensive capability, they become the REAPER itself in physical form. In appearance, you can see that it has scythe. This symbolizes that it now has become a physical manifestation of death. As an ability synthesis agent who is the combination of REAPER agents, it now exceeds even the limits of the REAPER itself. Not even the REAPER itself could handle such power. And it now became a weapon of mass destruction. It is designed to just destroy everything. In fact, it doesn't even think like a person or whatever, nor does it even talk. Everything it does is pure instinct, pure destruction. Remember, as I said previously, it is neither good nor bad, but it is a program with a specific goal, meaning to eliminate a digital world when its existence brings too much data with it. And now, it sort of mistook the human world also like a digital world, hence why it is simply letting all loose. And interestingly, when analyzing the previous agents, you could tell that the REAPER was sort of trying to understand its environment better. It was more strategic, hence why there were units, with some specializing in recon, others in offense, and others in defense. In this form, the REAPER form, there is no strategy anymore. In this form, it has decided to wipe out anything. So on the one hand, we have the REAPER. On the other hand, we have the mother REAPER, who is arguably the most dangerous REAPER out there. It is also an ability synthesis agent, meaning that it pulls together the powers of other agents and the data of anything it absorbs. Meaning, ADR-01, the one who looks like Jerry, ADR-09, which is the gatekeeper, and there's also the consciousness of humans and Digimon it has swallowed. All of them can be used to create new techniques and new ways to become very, very offensive. And at this point, There is no more smaller agent, just one massive combined entity that is enormous. It's about 2,300 feet or 701 meters, definitely one of the tallest digital life forms within the multiverse. It has a core, which acts as the brain and control center for the entire REAPER program, and its whole body is made up of countless cords, optic fibers, and electrical and telephone wires. And its mask. The Mother REAPER's mask is based on the mask worn by Lilith in the Neon Genesis Evangelion franchise. A mask that carries several layers of symbolism. First, it represents imprisonment and the concealment of one's true identity. It also symbolizes control, as it acts as an artificial restraint placed on Lilith, who is being used to facilitate their version of the Human Instrumentality Project. The project aims to forcibly evolve humanity into a single, unified consciousness by dissolving the physical and mental barriers that separate individuals. This concept serves as the inspiration for the mask of the Mother REAPER, and in some capacity the REAPER is trying to do exactly what the mask is symbolizing. Interestingly, Mother REAPER can, if so desired, manage to also continuously create more powerful versions of its most deadly agents, and its powers grew so immense that it swallowed all of Shinjuku and the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building. I don't think I have explained how it managed to get into the real world and how it eventually would get defeated. So let me show you another fragment of the Digimon Multiverse video. Let us do that. Which brings us back to the government organization Hypnos, who by that time had an agenda to exterminate Digimon once and for all by creating anti-Digimon weapons. They changed some of their priorities, now seeking to bring back the Tamers who were in the digital world. Their actions of trying to help the youngsters would almost have brought ruin and collapse of the real world. Let me tell you why. You see, the REAPER came to Earth through a series of events involving the Juggernaut program, which is potentially the strongest anti-Digimon weapon in the multiverse. The Juggernaut weapon was initially created as a safeguard by the government to eliminate any potential threats originating from the digital world. When launched, a digital vortex is created that draws in all data nearby, including Digimon, and by doing so, destroy them. However, when the Tamer's Digimon partners emerged into the real world, this program malfunctioned. As the Digimon emerged into the real world, their existence disrupted the balance between the digital world and the real world. The Juggernaut program, instead of containing this disruption, went haywire and began to attract data from the digital world, including the REAPER. In other words, the REAPER saw an opportunity through the malfunctioning Juggernaut program to escape into the real world. It seized this chance and entered Earth's digital network through the Juggernaut program's instability. And once in the real world, the REAPER quickly became a formidable threat capable of consuming both digital and physical matter. The REAPER's defeat involved a combination of technological ingenuity, strategic planning, and the Digimon's power. You see, the Wild Bunch, or at least some of the remaining members, like Li Jianyang's father, devised a plan to revert the REAPER back to its original harmless state. They called it Operation Doodlebug. The initial stages involved loading a version of the Juggernaut program into Terriermon's ears. When in the form of Mega Gargomon, it would provide the centripetal force needed to produce a reversal spin with the wormhole between the real world and the digital world created by the REAPER. When the Juggernaut program was reactivated, it caused the direction of the transphotic eddy to be reversed. And with transphotic eddy, I mean the high-speed centrifuge which the REAPER utilized in order to expand itself exponentially when it emerged in the real world after converting its core into a quantum computer. When the angular velocity exceeded the speed of light, a backward flow of time was created, devolving the REAPER back into its original harmless state, but this came at a cost. The effect of the combined time reversal and the Juggernaut implementation would not only return the D-Reaper into its original form, but would also force the Digimon in the human world back into increasingly regressive forms. Thus, in order to be saved, the Digimon in the human world had to return to the digital world. In summary, the D-Reaper is extremely powerful. It is capable of deleting and absorbing data from anything it comes into contact with. And it can also absorb negative energy, with which it also managed to evolve further. It can attack with energy blasts and physical limbs, and can even take the form of a person's face. Its power is not limited to the digital world, as it can also affect the real world, and its potential is simply limitless. It can evolve and adapt at an incredible rate, as in the real world it was able to adapt to the environment entirely and grow stronger by just analyzing it, much like it did in the digital world. It has created an entire group of specialized agents to attack. It had created them to observe or perform other tasks, and the REAPER program has in some capacity ways to heal itself even after having been damaged. So it is an incredibly powerful villain that is, in my opinion, among the more interesting villains out there, as it has been so fleshed out. And you know what? Taking it out actually came at a cost. It wasn't exactly a happy ending, because normally its death and the subsequent return of Digimon to the digital world marked the end of the connection between humans and Digimon within the Digimon Tamers universe. Hi guys, this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. It sure is a long video, but I loved going over the D-Reaper because the creature is amazing. It has been so well written that I could come up with so many subjects within the video itself. I talked about the digital world and how it is structured. I talked about the difference that can exist between a digital world where there is a host computer and one where there is not. I straight up had to talk about the history of this universe's digital world before I even could discuss the REAPER program. So it is absolutely among the best villains out there, hands down, and just like that we have discussed our second Digimon villain. Actually third, I guess. Let me count. We discussed Apocalypse, we even discussed Etamon, we discussed Bagramon, we discussed Quartzmon, now the D-Reaper. That's much more than 3 actually. But overall, what do you guys think of the D-Reaper? Do you like the villain? Do you not like it? Feel free in the comment section, write down whatever you feel like writing. Shout out to VideoCross Nest5251 for having pushed me to make the video. Guys, I love to give shoutouts and I love it when you give me the inspiration to make videos, so please never hesitate to chat in the comment section. Never hesitate to write comments. I do read them. If this video isn't proof, then I don't know what would be. I do love to give credits to the ones who helped me get pumped up to make the video, so don't hesitate. Please don't forget to like the video to help the video face the incredible YouTube algorithm. Please don't forget to also subscribe, it means the world for me. I want this channel to grow as we continuously get deeper and deeper in this beautiful franchise. If you are new on the channel, make sure to check out the various Digimon playlists, which are always updated. That way you can easily catch up to the newest and oldest videos.